Welcome to a new episode of Al Zahra podcast. Today we are tackling a sort of a new topic. When usually anyone mentions healthcare, first thing comes to mind is doctors, nurses, or medical technicians. But what the thing that most people don't think about is, and especially in a hospital, that there's many people and many departments behind the scenes working to make those people and their mission and taking care of patients successful. In this series of episodes, we want to talk about those people and the major role that they have in the healthcare process. And we start with one of the key positions in the key department, which is the human resource. To understand what is a human resource, what are their role in the healthcare industry. And for that, our guest today is one of the most experienced person in this field. Today we're hosting Miss Vijaya Sen, the Chief Human Resource Officer in Zahra Hospital. Hello, ma'am. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thank you, Hassan, for inviting me for this special podcast on human resource. I feel that, the importance has started coming in for this particular function because people have started realizing that it is not human resource, it's human capital. Exactly. That's why in our hospital, we call ourselves as Human Capital Department.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So let's start with the obvious question. Let's say for the people who don't understand or don't know what's human resource are and what HR is actually. Because most of the people, they have misconceptions and things about HR. Let's have first, what is HR?
HR, people call this as human resource. In our hospital, we call them as human capital. You'll be surprised to know that, human resource, human capital are all the new acronyms. The actual name which was given to people management was personnel officer. Yes, I'm talking about personal management. This started way back in 19th century when there was industrial revolution and factory workers had to be managed. People were looking for somebody who could manage them, look after their welfare, well-being, and the industrial laws, labor laws, and other things. That was a time when this function was constituted. And gradually, from a personal management, the journey has been to the human resource management. And I would like to acknowledge the contribution of our management consultant, Mr. Peter Drucker, who actually brought the HR into the boardroom. His saying was very clear that, human resource or people are not your expense. They are not your expense. They are to be valued. So that's how the whole thing started, that HR started being recognized in the boardrooms, in the meetings, and people were called human resource function. So that's how the journey started. So from personal management to human resource management. So the journey has been very long enough for people to recognize this function.
Mentioning the journey, so let's come back a little bit for your personal journey. I know you have a really long experience in HR, but how did you start your journey in human resource, or let's say now capital resource, as you name it? How Miss Vijaya started the HR journey?
Interestingly, my background has been very, very different. I'm actually a law graduate from India. I started as a lawyer. I practiced in different courts, district courts and others. I used to present the cases for my clients. I realized that, the legal function, although it gave you that kind of exposure, understanding of how to manage people, how to do this, but I was more connected with the people. My role was to understand the people and apply the law for them, and fight for them. It was like that. So I thought of, why not look at the corporate side? So I had two avenues to go into: either practice as a lawyer in a corporate field, or look at something more related to management. So, at that time, I found a very good mentor who said that, why don't you acquire a degree in the management and pursue your interest there? So that's how I forayed my experience into HR. I started my career in HR. I first acquired a degree in human resource management, again from India. And then I started with the human resource function with one of the very known Fortune 500 company, GE. And I got the experience to work with some of the very established human resource leaders who taught me lots and lots of things, So I started my career from GE as a human resource person. Now I hold, I would say, total experience I hold about 35. As a HR professional, 25 years of experience. And having said that, last 15 years I have spent my years in UAE, and that too in healthcare.
That's brilliant. That's a really long experience, which is a plus that first time I know that you're a lawyer in foundation. So means we can say you have all a proper sort of aspect to run, and a human resource department. Means as you mentioned, you're connecting with people. Your connection with people, it goes on different levels, and that's really, really impressive. That brings also one thing, is the misconception or the general theory is HR, human resources, human capital, is hiring and firing. This is what they do only. This most of the people, let's be honest. Most of the people say, okay, HR, hiring and firing, that's it. But I don't believe this is the whole truth, isn't it? There's many things behind it. There's a lot of things behind the role of HR.
Before I answer this question, I would like to connect something with my educational qualification, the legal background. The legal background has been an asset to my profession because you're actually dealing with the employment rules and regulations, the law. So you have to understand the employment laws of the country where you function. While I was working in India, I was quite proficient in the industrial law, employment laws in the country. Then when I moved to UAE, I really researched and equipped myself with the understanding of labor law here. So this is the most important aspect of any HR professional working in UAE, in whichever industry they are in. Having given that background, now I'll come to the point, hiring and firing, what you said. It's a very common thing when people say that, oh, you're HR, you're there from hiring to firing. Of course, one part of it is, yes, you are actually a part of the journey of an employee from the start to the end of his service in the organization. Having said that, the HR has also evolved from a transactional role to a more of a strategic business partners as well. Now, I'll throw some lights over this, how it is. Like, I've been working in healthcare, at least for the last 15 years in UAE. And it's very important for a human resource function here to understand what does your business want, what does your business leaders want. They want the best of doctors to work with you. They want the best of nurses, best of technicians, best of support functions to drive this entire business vertical. In order to have that, you have to understand the business a lot. And this was very well summarized by one of the business leaders with whom I worked very closely for a very long time. He said that, Vijaya, try understanding the fundamental reasons of people, why they're not happy over there, why they are not. So first of all, understand that. and try addressing that issues. Secondly, understand each and every aspects of the hospital. Like for instance, if you have to get a lab technician, you have to understand what does a laboratory do, what kind of tests we do, what kind of doctors we hire, what kind of technicians we need, what kind of machines you have. If you understand all these aspects, then you will be able to find the right kind of talent for your organization. So how I forayed my journey in this area is that in the last 15 years, I really worked hard on each and every specialties. I'm not a doctor. I don't come from the medicines background. But then what I did is that I studied each and every specialty. So I give you an example of laboratory. Like a common man will not know what does a rheumatologist do. They will think that rheumatologist is connected with nerves and this thing, but one has to understand what else a rheumatologist does. So my role was to understand, not only me, I actually taught my whole team also, especially the talent management and talent acquisition team, what you have to understand about the different specialties. So as part of our orientation, what we do is that we educate our own team members, the non-clinical people, to understand the clinical side of it.
This is exactly the point where I was going to mention. Yeah. It is not a standard, like a practice or some standard thing. It's just hiring, like in any other corporate or institute, just hiring someone to work. That's a very critical field, which is, as you mentioned, the acquisition team, the people who's in charge for hiring, they need to understand the industry, medical terms, medical requirement. It's really not something, and this is why we are doing this kind of a podcast to make people understand that hiring in medical field, it's a different than any other a field, I guess, because it has its own critical kind of requirement.
Absolutely right. So, we have in our hospital more than 60 specialties, and every specialty has a very different need together. You cannot compartmentalize everything in one area that, okay, this is what you want, For instance, if I'm trying to set up a department like a psychology department, a clinical psychologist will definitely need a psychiatrist, will need a speech therapist, will need many other people to work with. Same way when we talk about ENT, you need a audiometrist to work with. You need the people to support
it's
the
not
doctors.
One person, it's a whole team.
It's a whole team.
Different the specialties, different roles in the department.
Yes. So every department brings its own area of expertise and their requirements.
And challenges.
And challenges as well. And as a HR, we as a HR team, we really work hard to understand each and every specialty and bring the right people on board for them.
Ms. Vijaya, that leads us for a of a question. What makes healthcare HR in UAE special?
I would like to add in something more also to this. The cultural fitment is very important aspect when we work in UAE, because you have multicultural people coming from different countries to work with you, and they have a very different background as well. So I'm sure everybody knows Dubai, the entire Emirate has attracted people globally. So people come here with their medical understanding. So when they land here, they get their required licenses to practice here. What we look at is that we look at these people, do they culturally fit into our organization? That means their behavioral aspects, their interpersonal skills, their spoken language. Well, you may be coming from China, but your local language should be English, You have to speak in English. So these are three important things which we look at as a HR, other than their required licenses to practice. And of course, we have a very strong clinical team who does the interviews very, very objectively, understanding their competencies in that required field before we make a selection. So we hire the best, but we also look for the best. It's like that.
So that being said, now we have a sort of general understanding of the human resource, or they will say, as you keep saying, capital resources, I believe that's the right term to use. I hope we made people understand is that what the role of human capital. So, Ms. Vijaya, as we agreed, we will have a series of episodes about HR. We will go more into details for a few topics about HR and healthcare. I would like to thank you for your time and the great information that you provide us in this episode. And if there's anything you had to add in this context for whatever we mentioned and we said before, please.
Thank you for inviting me for this series, and I'm glad that you have taken this subject, human capital, so important. It's a very highly specialized area of function, be it any industry, whether healthcare, hospitality, or service. Every HR professional who are working in these industries, they actually delve into the subject, deeply into it. They understand the business well before they start handling this entire role. So it's not that, being a healthcare, I cannot work for a retail or a hospital, but I love working with healthcare. And the people who join the healthcare, they understand that, we have really invested our time to understand each and everything about the healthcare specialty. So we would like to continue here. So that's how the specialization of human resource happens in this function.
Ms. Vijaya, again, thank you so much for your time and for the informations. And we are looking for the new episodes, the other episodes coming. لا, stop. شو صاير لي أنا اليوم? What's happening? It's okay. Ms. Vijaya, again, thank you so much for your time and for this very valuable information. And we're looking forward for the coming episodes where we will have more specific and more details on a focused topics on the HR. Again, thank you so much and see you in the next episode.
Thank you very much.